Oh, shoot. I don't have my camera lens open. I'm here, y'all. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is. I'm back home. It's a little after, it's about 10:20 right now. I know I'm missing my favorite all-time show, but I've got a really busy show, Badlands Media live. Their morning show every morning. I usually watch it, but I have got an extremely busy day today, and I need to get this done because I've had several requests for me to make this into a video so that they could share it with other friends, so that they could listen to it while they, drive or do chores or whatever, because they don't have time to sit down and read. All right, let me pull this up real quick. Yep, that's it. Okay, let me make sure I'm streaming correctly. Yes, I am. Okay. This is the Donbass conflict unveiled. A tale of war, corruption, contention, and conspiracy. By Sammy the Squirrel. I did this on June 3rd, 2025. Well, it doesn't seem that long ago, but The war in Ukraine has been a crucible of suffering, propaganda, and geopolitical maneuvering, with the Donbass and Donetsk regions at its heart. The story delves into the tumultuous journey of these regions, the shadowy forces at play, and the stark realities of a conflict that has divided nations and narratives. Here's what's really happening. As I have found out, beyond the headlines, note, I have found it hard researching this topic for links thanks to every search engine only showing mainstream media propagandized narratives and talking points. Nobody is reporting honestly on what happened here. All right, Donbass and Donetsk, a fractured path to Russia. The Donbass, encompassing Donetsk and Luhansk, has been a flashpoint since 2014, the Orange Revolution, when Russian paramilitary seized towns, igniting a separatist movement. These nations went through proper UN channels to rejoin Russia, seeking protection from chaos and violence. However, the reality is murkier. In April 2014, separatists backed covertly by Russia declared the Donetsk People's Republic, DPR, and Luhansk People's Republic, LPR, as independent entities as voted on by the citizens of these regions. The declarations were not sanctioned by the United Nations, nor were they part of any formal international process. Sound familiar? Although I swear I remember reading several stories covering this back when this war first started. The Minsk agreements brokered in 2014 and 2015 by the OSCE aimed to halt the fighting and reintegrate those regions into Ukraine, not facilitate their annexation by Russia that the citizens voted for. Yet these agreements faltered, undermined by both sides. Yet, in my personal opinion and research, it has always been Ukraine to make the initial attack to disrupt peace talks. When Russia retaliates, they blame Russia, which is true. It's like they had peace talks set up with President Trump. What does Zelensky do? He sends drones in to attack a Russian Air Force base where they house a bunch of aging and ready for retirement turboprop nuclear capable bombers. The old ones from the 70s, the propeller driven ones, not the jet engine driven ones. Yeah, it's just crazy. Ukraine make the attack disrupt peace. Yeah, and then blame it. It's, blame it on Russia. Fast forward to 2022, Russia recognized the DPR and LPR as sovereign states, a move condemned globally as a violation of international law. Now, how can it be a violation of international law if the people of these two regions held an election and overwhelmingly voted to rejoin Russia? I mean, before launching its full-scale invasion, referendums held in these regions to join Russia were criticized and coercive and legitimate by the UN and Western nations like they always do. It's their base propaganda attack. Far from proper UN channels, this was a path forged through citizens' rights and political defiance, driven by a desire to reclaim what some call historic Russian territory and to shield residents from the escalating war and atrocities on the people by the Azov Battalion. The Azov Battalion, heroes or villains. Enter the Azov Battalion. Let me see here. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me see. We're going to sharing this and we're going to let's see where. Here we go. We'll share this. We don't need to sign up now. All right. The Western media is whitewashing the Azov Battalion. Before Russia invaded Ukraine, I'll explain this later, y'all. These fighters were neo-Nazis. They still are. Look at them. They're all still doing the salutes. This is a Nazi emblem. The Wolf's gang or something like that. All right. And you can actually listen to this article as well. But this goes in to explain a lot of what's going on in Russia with the Nazis right now. Okay. Let's get back to the Donbass clicked. Okay. Oh, let me make sure I'm sharing, not have a black screen like I did yesterday. I'm sorry. Okay, enter the Azov Battalion, a volunteer force turned National Guard unit accused of being majorly Nazi sympathizers who endlessly shelled and murdered citizens trying to flee. Azov's, there was videos online about this that you can't find anymore. And I wasn't smart enough, or at least I don't think I was smart enough to have downloaded them onto X in my folders file. I'll have to check that. Azov's origins are indeed controversial, founded by lifelong Nazi figures like Andrei Belinsky. The group initially harbored neo-Nazi elements, yet by 2022 integrated into Ukraine's military. In other words, turning Ukraine's military into the new Nazi regime. We never really did defeat the Nazis in World War II. They just spread out. They saw that their weapons, their advanced weapons were a little bit behind, and the whole world against them, and they decided, okay, we'll just put this on the back burner for a few decades and go back at it again, which they're doing right now. Did Azov shell battalion or sell civilians relentlessly? Yes. The UN has documented civilian deaths from shelling in Donbass, with casualties numbering in the thousands since 2014. It became so bad that parents were putting their children to bed in cast iron bathtubs for their protection. However, these reports attribute violations to both sides, separatists and Ukrainian forces alike. Neither side in any war have clean hands. Azov fought in key battles. The evidence does single them out as the primary perpetrators of indiscriminate shelling or targeted murders of fleeing civilians. Russian narratives have amplified Azov's dark past. painting Ukraine as a neo-Nazi state to justify intervention and claim that oversimplifies a complex war. This just proves that in every war, there are atrocities committed by both sides. That's inevitable, folks. I'm going to explain something at the end of this. Please stay. The Khazarian Mafia, myth or menace. All right. Now they're doing their best to whitewash the Khazarian Mafia history. There are ties between Ukraine and the Khazarian Mafia and its horrific history. This is where we tried. Wait a minute. This is where we trend into. Oh, this is where we trend into conspiracy territory. I suggest reading this history of the Khazarian Mafia, the Khazars, a tunic people from the Middle Ages, ruled parts of Eastern Europe centuries ago. Some fringe theories link them to modern Ukraine or global cabals, often with anti-Semitic undertones. Mainstream historians dismiss these claims as baseless. While Ukraine's past is rich and turbulent with Khazarian Mafia narrative lacks credible footing and seems more a product of the winners write the history lore than historical fact. And yes, I don't want to say it now, but I'm going to wait till the end. Zelensky and the Peace Paradox. What if Volodymyr Zelensky? A peace deal would spell his doom, a liability to the deep state, prolonging the war. Zelensky, a former comedian turned wartime leader, made the deep state's perfect puppet. He has navigated a treacherous path, balancing domestic pressures, international support, and Russian aggression as told. He's engaged in peace talks, including the Minsk process, but no evidence suggests his life hinges on thwarting peace. That's my personal opinion. Zelensky's real risk may lie in the war itself, not a hypothetical betrayal. I have tried to remain strictly to the facts. I personally believe that when peace does break out in Ukraine, Zelensky's life will be in danger because he knows too much and is too big of a liability against testifying against the deep state to be allowed to continue inhaling and exhaling. Money laundering and corruption, a Ukrainian plague. Ukraine's corruption woes are no secret, and the war has only deepened them. The money laundering scams and officials fleeing with suitcases of money I got to bring this up real quick here, y'all. Oops. Got to go over to this one. Suitcases full of money. Go here, sharing this. Then we got to share. Here we go. Right here. Wife of former Ukraine MP caught crossing border into Hungary with $30 million in cash. This is just one lady. Okay. And then we've got luxury cars. Okay, let's bring this one up. We got the all the nice luxury. Well, this is a meme, of course, but it is an actual article about what all they have been buying and how high off the hog they have been living thanks to our tax dollars. You know, it disgusts me. It just outright disgusts me. And let's not forget about their mansions. You know, I mean, oh, well, it says it's still loading. We'll wait for it to. Well, I guess that link has been killed. Not here it comes. Okay. Let's see. Share. Here we go. America's tax dollars at work. Corrupt Ukraine officials busted buying mansions, luxury cars, lavish vacations as people suffered. And you can read all about it right here. This is the truth. All of this right here is investigative journalism. Maybe at its fine. I wouldn't say is, but at its fine. Guardian did a pretty good job here, even though I'm not all that great on the Washington Standard. Let's go ahead and get back to the conflict. Let me make sure I'm sharing and not a black screen again. Okay. Mansions abroad. Ukraine ranked poorly on corruption index. What did I do here? Ranked poorly on corruption indices long before 2020. Ukraine ranked poorly on corruption. Corruption. I meant to put Ukraine ranked poorly on corruption and atrocities long before 2022. That's I don't know how I messed that up. And the influx of wartime funds has fueled scrutiny. The broader pattern of the grift is undeniable, a stain on Ukraine's war effort and America's gullibility. All right, Russia as the good guys, a contested claim. I believe is correct. I believe the Russians are the moral victors, sparing surrendering soldiers and shunning atrocities like castration. Castrating this with, or contrasting this with Ukrainian horrors. The truth is grimmer. The UN and human rights groups have cataloged war crimes by both sides, of course, yet the worst offender in this war is by far Ukraine. Torture, executions, and prisoner abuse. Russia's conduct isn't spotless. Reports of civilian massacres and forced deportations haunt its campaign. Again, thanks to Ukraine hiding their soldiers and weapons in civilian areas. Meanwhile, claims of Ukrainian soldiers using dead Russian phones to taunt families or dropping grenades on wounded are chilling. Both armies have blood on their hands. Neither side wears a halo. And Zelensky himself ordered his Surgeon General of his army to issue out direct commands to even field medics, okay, that if they came across a live Russian soldier to take in as a prisoner, immediately to castrate them so that they cannot breathe, all right? There were Azov battalion soldiers taking the personal phones of dead Russian soldiers and calling their parents, their wives, their families, and mocking them, posing with their dead son, husband, friend, whatever. I mean, how cruel is that? And this is Ukrainian doing this, not Russia. They had drones. There was this video of a Russian soldier. His legs are obvious. I mean, he stepped on a landmine, apparently. All right. And his legs are just shredded. And he's trying to drag himself across a field and surrender to get some medical help. And the Azov battalion guys flew a drone out there and was dropping grenades on him and filming it and then put it on social media. It's disgusting. Peace deal derailed and civilian shields. Peace has been elusive because Ukraine always are disrupting deals via drone strikes on Russian soil. Ceasefires like Minsk have crumbled under mutual violations. Both sides share the fault. Yet Ukraine's drone strike attacks have escalated tensions, but Russia's retaliatory strikes have been equally disruptive. Ukraine uses civilians as shields, housing troops in apartments and stashing weapons in schools and churches, places of worship. The UN confirms both parties have endangered civilians this way. Russia does not hide their, I'll explain at the end. Amplifying casualties and muddying the moral landscape. When Russia strikes back, Ukraine cries foul. Propaganda flows both ways. Elites flee, serfs suffer. Serf is the common person. Reports of Ukrainian officials flaunting their stolen wealth, high-end cars, global estates, paint a stark contrast to the front lines. Some have tried to escape with ill-gotten gains. Meanwhile, the war's toll on ordinary Ukrainians is brutal. Forced conscriptions, snatching young men right off the street, forced conscription videos and rumors swirl. Young men and women reportedly snatched off the streets in Ukraine to fight, while Russia has expanded its draft. The scale of street abductions is unclear. Desperation drives such measures as Ukraine bleeds. The unvarnished truth. This war defies simple narratives. The Donbass and the Donbass people voted to rejoin Russia through UN blessings, but finding this truth has been very difficult. Azov's Nazi shadow looms large, yet it's one piece of a fractured puzzle. Corruption festers in Ukraine, but Russia's hands aren't clean either. There will always be atrocities by both sides in every war. I mean, there's bad people in every country of the world, and there's bad people with bad intentions in every military in the world. There's some people who crave war, who can't live without it, love it. All right. Zelensky is fighting for survival from the deep state. Atrocities stain both sides, and peace remains a distant dream. The real story isn't about heroes or villains. It's about a region torn apart. Its people are caught in the crossfire of power, pride, and greed. And okay, my little caveat here at the end. I'm doing this on YouTube, y'all. That's why I worded this so the way I did. Okay, I want this video to be able to stay up. I don't want to get one of those marks, after just getting started. And YouTube seems to be the easiest one for me to use so far, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. Like I said, I worded it that way purposefully so that the video would remain up. Y'all have a great and blessed day. I hope you enjoyed it.